a speaker?
Ooh,
There's your third speaker right there.
someone press the recording button.
Yes.
He's starting.
Well, the
Can we
I
stop the
didn't do
recording
it.
for a while, please?
Let's see.
I don't know who started the recording, but the advantage of doing it now is that you don't forget to do it at the start of the meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
but I just came on, so I have some housekeeping. I'd rather not have recorded.
Yeah, we can, Dr. Bern, can you gavel us in?
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Online Presenters. It's Monday, August 15th. We are here while a whole bunch of other people are getting ready to converge on Nashville, Tennessee for the international meeting. But you are all here. Yay. Okay. Many people are, our club is from all over the world, great diversity. And in that light, be careful of how you're saying things because it may be taken offensively by people in other locations. Our meeting is taped and recorded so that all of us can benefit from what our experiences are in terms of relived moment. Not a nightmare, but just a relived moment of the meeting. The Toastmaster of the day today is Donna Knight, and I'll let her start off our meeting. Donna.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Sergeant at Arms. They say the heat is on just about everywhere you turn right now. The heat is on, and that's what we want to talk about today as we go as Toastmasters. But don't worry too much about this heat. It's more about keeping you warm rather than burning you up. So the first thing we're going to do with this heat is going to improve our skills as presenters. And our presenter today is our Vice President Education, Distinguished Toastmaster Carr, who is going to share a tip with us in 5 minutes. Madam Timer, let's help him keep everything in check. Let's welcome Distinguished Toastmaster Carr.
All right. So I have yet another little website tool that I wanted to show you guys. This is an idea that I actually stole from the VP of Education at a different club. And she said, you know, David has all these crazy online ways of signing up for roles, but we used to have just a little simple clipboard that we pass around the room. And when the clipboard came to you, you took a role. And so we wouldn't have to do this big production at the end where we try and get people to take roles. So why can't we have a virtual clipboard? And she had done it in Google Docs. And of course I said, well, we can't have that. We've got to have something that's built into the website and syncs with the website and that doesn't have to have an extra step of taking it out of the Google form or whatever and putting it into the website. And so this is the thing I came up with for that. So you as the meeting organizer go to the easy online sign up page for the appropriate date. And it gives you back this little thing. And this is sort of similar to the voting tool. The idea is that I'm going to copy and paste this little snippet into the chat and people can sign up for a role without needing to log in. So saves a step, maybe encourages people to take advantage of it. But actually, my friend, the VP of Education, said, "Well, no, we should send these out to people one at a time." So as chat monitor, actually, I'm chat monitor tonight. I'm going to be going down this list, and I'm going to be picking on people individually who are here tonight but who have not signed up for a role for the next meeting. And I'll send you a personalized link where you can click on that link and it will already have your name queued up and you'll be able to see what the open roles are and take one of them. And you're all going to take one of them, right? Now, it's at some point I may add something where you can mark that you're not planning to be there for that particular meeting, which we have on the regular sign-up sheet. But for now, you can just message me back and say, sorry, Dave, I won't be here next week. But meanwhile, I'm going to try and pick on you and get as many people signed up during the meeting. So keep your eye on the chat. At some point, I'm going to message you and ask you if you can take a role for next week. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much for that. The tip where just by one click, you are now helping to help others grow. Thank you so much for that. I know VP Eds are more willing now to take the roles, less work. And with one click, we can fix the agenda and everybody has everything. Today, as we continue to grow, as we think about the fact that Toastmasters International is meeting this week, and there are those who are squirming perhaps in their seats as they get ready to win the international championship competition that is hosted by us, I want you to sit back, relax, and consider today how this heat, whatever heat we may put on you, to be not necessarily the best speaker, but a better speaker than you were just last week, how you are going to use this heat to make you grow. We're going to use a little fire under your tail today, but as I said, don't get too worried. As you go, we're going to look at certain areas in your development. And I'm going to ask our Toastmasters to tell us how they're going to help you grow. Toastmaster Antoinette, tell us a little about your role as our counter.
Good evening, Toastmasters of the day, and also to my fellow Toastmasters. As our counter today, I will take notice of inappropriate interjections, for example, right, you know, and so forth, and any unusually long pauses. And when I'm called to do so, to give a report, I will gladly do so. Back to you, Toastmasters of the day, Donna.
Thank you so much. And if you don't use one of those, we're not looking to out you out. We're just looking to help you be a little bit more fluent. And in fluency, how can we forget grammar? Toastmaster Graham, please tell us how you're going to help us focus on grammar this time.
Well, I'm going to be watching to make sure that we ain't doing nothing wrong with our language, eh? No, seriously, my role as the grammarian will be to watch our use of grammar. I will look for those mistakes that we will inevitably make, although perhaps we won't. Perhaps you will surprise me with your eloquence this evening. That's the other thing that I'll be doing. I'll be looking for the flights of fancy, the use of language, the love of what we do. That's my role as grammarian.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Graham. And let us really surprise him and give him nothing. Let him listen well. But we don't only listen, we watch. And we watch to help you grow. Toastmaster Natalie, what will you be watching for as we speak?
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. And Donna, it's been so long. I'm Natasha. She called me Natalie.
Glasses. Thank you, Natasha.
I understand. During the meeting, I will watch carefully for items such as visual effects, body language, props, slides, backgrounds, framing, video quality. And of course, I will also look for smiles. When called upon, I will provide a 1-minute report highlighting exceptional and problematic visual items observed during the meeting. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Natasha. I got it right. And
Yes.
as you look for the applause that we're going to be giving our speakers today, I want to hear about it. But did I forget, or did I not hear what was the word of the day as you're looking out for smiles? Is there a particular word we're looking out for? Did I forget it, Toastmaster Cairns? What's the word?
There is a word for the day, and I believe, and I didn't choose it, but there is a word for the day, and I believe the word for the day is blister. I'm just going to go and check this because I'm actually at a forward agenda, but let me check. It's on the agenda, it's at the top, and it says the word of the day is blistering. Extreme or severe heat, intense or rapid, something which many in North America are suffering, something which those of us in the Southern Hemisphere are not going through just as we speak.
Thank you. And When you speak, we will later on choose somebody who we want to honor this evening. Toastmaster Carr, how will you choose your my apologies. Toastmaster Pamela, tell us how you'll be counting those we choose this evening.
I'm going to pick who my favorite is, and that's going to be the winner. No,
Okay,
not
great.
really. Just a joke. At the end of the speakers and the end of the table topics and the evaluation, I'll ask people, or the Toastmaster of the day can say to send me the votes. I haven't figured out the vote machine, but they can send the votes to me by private email, and I will count them and I will tally them and give a report when I'm called on by the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. I hope you paid attention to where she sits. The word vote is in front of her name with blistering speed. Please send her the counts when she needs them. So Toastmaster David Carr, I know that's one thing you won't be able to watch in the chat as a chat monitor, but what will you be looking for?
I'll be looking for signs of things going horribly wrong. And if people message in the chat that things are going horribly wrong, I will alert you to that fact, or alert others who can hopefully make those horribly wrong things go better. Hopefully right. But meanwhile, I will also be watching for the wit and witticism of the club as it is expressed in the chat. Now, some people will tell you that you shouldn't post in the chat when the speakers are speaking. I think these are advanced Toastmasters in an online club, and they should put on their big boy pants and be ready for some distractions going on in the chat, and maybe even watch for things that they ought to be responding to. So that's my opinion, but regardless, I will watch what goes on there and I will give a little report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Toastmaster Carv. And I like that. You know why? Because when we're in the real world, people respond to our speeches while we're presenting. We're advanced speakers and trainers. Let's raise the bar. Let the heat take us higher. All right, so now we know the things for which we're looking. Let's see how we're going to incorporate it all in a speech. And so we have two speakers today. And the first of the two prepared speakers is Toastmaster Andriy Smolenko, and he's going to speak from the innovative planning building skills. But before I tell you a little bit more about him, Toastmaster Adrian, is it Toastmaster Adrian who is evaluating Toastmaster Andriy?
Yes.
Did I get it right? Yes, I did.
That's
Thank you
correct.
so much. Please tell us, where is the heat as he speaks?
Where is the heat? I don't have his introduction, so I don't know where the heat is going to be, but it's going to be creative fire, and he is going to deliver the objectives of the speech, and I will be looking that up for the evaluation that I will give you later in the meeting. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. I will tell you a little bit about our speaker. Our speaker, Toastmaster Andriy Smolenko, has seen many perspectives exist in interpreting leadership skills. A good, oh, my apologies, wrong speaker. Get your glasses fixed. The title of his speech this evening is "The Best Way to Confront Someone is to Use FBI." Ladies and gentlemen, I say nothing more in case I have to be contacted. Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker is the Toastmaster Andriy Smolenko.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm Andriy Smolenko. I'm Ukrainian living in Manchester. I've been with Toastmasters for a number of years and have a family business and so on. And I'm really grateful to Toastmasters because they teach us very valuable practical skills, like how to give a feedback or how to come up with impromptu speech with a second or take a role. One particular area that I've been really interested in Toastmasters is how to use the skills that I learned in this club or in Toastmasters General to confront people. because we all know from time to time, many people out there at work, at home, or just in public transport would really, really love to test our boundaries. Oh, you don't look very well today. Or what kind of jumper are you wearing? Look at that. And many other things that you can probably all bring into your mind. Confronting someone when how we feel, they offended us, or they said something that really upset us or spoiled the day. I couldn't really find exactly the right thing with Toastmasters. Oh, maybe I'm on a learning journey, as we all are. At the same time, the purpose of my speech today is just for you to look at the three letters FBI in a very different context. Of course, we call FBI Federal Bureau of Investigation, probably the most infamous three letters in the world, similar to KGB these days, in case of really, really big trouble. At the same time, I suggest that the best way to confront someone is indeed to use FBI. Maybe not in a regionally intended way, in a slightly different way. What I found on my search for the effective technique that could help me to defend my boundaries and confront other people, I came across, of course, Mr. Simon Sinek. Just out of curiosity, can we lift the hands up who knows this guy or heard of Simon Sinek? So I get an idea from the audience. Yes, I can see most of us. He's an American organizational psychologist who written a number of books, and one of them starts with your why. And in one of his video presentations, he mentioned, in my view, quite a fascinating technique. Strangely enough, it's called FBI. So what exactly that means? FBI stands for feeling, behavior, and impact. Feeling, behavior, and impact. What exactly that means? For example, if someone told me, Andriy, your shirt that you're wearing is very inappropriate, what would I respond? Using this technique, I would say, look, when you comment about my shirt, and I feel very uncomfortable. And if you carry on commenting about my shirt, we could have an argument. Look, let's just avoid it. And then I just shut up and wait for the answer. The interesting thing, that technique makes the other side, the opponents, accountable for their own actions. So it's not really us to explain, it's them to think about what they say, what really could offend us. Then I thought, right, this technique, Simon Sinek, psychologist, he's a famous guy. He could come up with all sorts of things. And how practical is that in real life? Is the real value in FBI in real life conversations? According to Christine Hadid, in her book, Permission to Screw Up, that's I read, and it's foreword by Simon Sinek, that lady managed to build her multi-million business, cleaning business. And she is a business lady, someone I could personally trust. She used that technique for her employees to give them feedback on what they do and encourage them to use it. And she found that very practical. Well, with two people that I trust, I decided to move on and explore what the FBI really could mean. Okay, first, we say exactly how the person made us feel. For example, in my example, Andriy, your shirt is not appropriate for the evening. Look, it made me feel uncomfortable. You're honest about your feelings. Step number 2. By the way, you can mix them and match. You can use it in a different order. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3. How you feel comfortable. So 2, it's got to be about specific action of the other person. So when you said my shirt wasn't right, I felt uncomfortable. And then number 3, impact of what that person said, the impact on the situation. If we continue talking about my shirt in that way, we're not going to get anywhere, are we? And we want to carry on with meeting. So those 3 things, say exactly how the person made you feel. Number 2, say specific action, what happened. Number 3, explain the impact or consequences. And then the very, very important thing, just keep quiet and wait for the person to respond. And if they continue their persistent behavior, you use it again, and then you keep quiet. According to Simon Sinek, it's really, really effective way. I find it effective as well. The key thing is to practice. Just have a game. Perhaps we can do it later on today. Overall, remember, the best way to confront someone is to use FBI. Back to you, Madam Table. Sorry. Yes, ma'am. Again, yes.
Don't worry about it. Use FBI. I will tell you exactly how I feel that you have forgotten my name, but don't worry about it, because I had forgotten someone and that person has not complained. And so I understand how the person feels, and I'm going to ask the timer, please remind us how you are timing us this evening as we continue with our meeting before we have our second speaker. Toastmaster Joni, please.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. As timer, it will be my job to keep everyone from the blistering heat of going over time and into the red. I will do that by changing my backgrounds, and don't worry, you won't see me making the face of you're almost there, because I will ensure that I cover the video like I just did. In 5 to 7 minutes, green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7. If you happen to go over time, you're going to see something like this. And I'll give my report in the chat later on in the meeting.
Thank you so much. It is very important, that red light that flashes telling you that you're over time. That is the kind of heat you do not want. We should have some virtual sergeant dance this evening. But thank you so much. As we grow and we learn to use FBI, let's learn a little bit more about leadership. Our second speaker, leadership, what does it mean to you? But before we hear a little bit about him, let's hear from his evaluator, Toastmaster Marian Grady.
Why, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Tonight, Andrew will be giving a speech that is well organized and about some aspect of leadership style. He may choose to speak about his or her own leadership style, or leadership styles in general and their impacts. The speech could be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The speech should not be a report on the content of understanding your leadership project. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Leadership, what does it mean to you? Many perspectives exist in interpreting leadership skills. A Google search, our speaker says, identifies more than 6 trillion articles, and Amazon has more than 60,000 books. Some people look at the Bible as a foundational book that teaches leadership skills. How do you identify leadership skills? Our speaker today, distinguished Toastmaster Andriy Bern, will explore leadership. What does it mean to you? Welcome, Toastmaster Bern.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. With the facts that were just outlined, there are a lot of people that have thought a lot about leadership. If it was very simple and everybody understood the same thing, then you wouldn't have more than 6 1.8 trillion articles about that. So think about it. Toastmasters as an organization embraces two things. They embrace experiential learning, and they embrace two large categories: leadership and communication skills. And within those two large categories, they identify things that you should be thinking about, because teamworks and teams are one of the essential skills that you'll be developing with Toastmasters. But they point out that everybody has different personalities, different leadership styles. And to that end, I want you to be thinking about images so that you can match up the images with the different styles. And I'll give you some examples. Toastmasters talks about effective communicators are people that lead by example, are optimistic, open-minded, and they demonstrate integrity. You'll look at integrity and realize that it's one of the 4 core values that everybody knows about. Other thing I wanted to point out to you is that at the beginning of every project, there is a statement of what the objective is, what they want you to take away, what they want you to learn about the segment. And not that you're going to be able to read all those fine prints, but it basically says that there are styles that make leadership valuable, functional, and you need to know about it. In fact, there are 8 styles of leadership. And what I want you to do is take a piece of paper out or on your computer. And as we go over each of those leadership styles, I want you to associate it with an individual picture. So when you think about bureaucratic as a style, and these are the characteristics, who comes to mind as someone that characterizes a bureaucratic leadership style? Democratic. Now, this one may be found as an interesting thought process, but when you look about demographic or democratic leadership, I think about Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek, because as you go through most of the difficult problems that he has to confront, he calls everybody, all the officers, into the conference room and says, let's discuss the problem. Let's identify the issues involved. Let's discuss what we can do, our possibilities. What can we do to solve this problem? And that's a lot of what the democratic process is in leadership. Innovation. When I look at this, the mind that I have in mind, the image or picture that I have in mind is MacGyver. MacGyver is a guy, fictional, that comes to a problem and comes to a solution in unique ways, bringing problems to bear to figure out how to solve something. Altruistic. This is a leader that has a particular kind of approach to meet the individual's needs of the team. The leader leads in order to better serve others. Think of who you would associate with altruistic. By doing this associations, you will find it easy to remember these different type of styles. Authoritative. The picture I have in my mind with this title is Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was a guy that got things done, but if he didn't do it his way, you might not live to see the next day. So authoritative has a whole bunch of characteristics. Coaching. When I saw that as a characteristic, I think about Don Shula, who was a coach for many years successfully for the Miami Dolphins. But he epitomized the characteristics of coaching. Affiliative. Who would you put as affiliative in your view for people that you know? Again, at the beginning of this project, they have you take a test, and the test tells you what are you likely to be in terms of your leadership styles or leadership skills. And these were my scores. you'll see that it's really clustered within a very short span. Top was 24, bottom was 20. That's not much of a spread. And what I want you to think about as we're getting through to this process is that each one of those characteristics, those 8 characteristics that I want you to think about, if you associate it with an image or a picture, people that are involved in the memory field tell you that that's the best way of remembering a lot of information. And the reason that's important is the same people in the studies say that if you remember 3, that's about your limit. So in order to go beyond that limit, you have to think about ways of bringing in the principles and information so that it's easier for you to recall what that means and what the pictures are. Again, there are 8 styles, and I'll be more than happy to take this lecture and the styles and put it in the chat for you to download it and think about. This is the kind of thing that you're thinking about. Why? You're thinking about it because as you're working with teams, as you're working in different projects, people are all going to have different types of personalities and different types of leadership skills. And that's why there are 6.8 trillion articles about leadership, because not many people agree collaboratively that this represents leadership. Many people are involved with John Maxwell. John Maxwell has 60 books out on leadership, and they say something different each time. So I want you to think about that as you're thinking about your leadership. How can you do your leadership process? Thank you very much.
Thank you. How do you do your leadership process? What does it mean to you? How do you think about your leadership style? Perhaps you have one of those 60,000 books on Amazon. Perhaps you're about to get one and add it to 60,001. But whatever it is, let's focus on the leadership style that you have and see how it benefits the people that you lead. All right, so it's time to breathe in, relax a bit. You got the speech out. You did a great job, and I know you can grow. But yeah, now let's take it up a notch. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been asked to speak thinking on your feet? Today, somebody has decided that he will not do it, so he is our topics master. Toastmaster Barbo, well done, smart move. Please tell us how you will lead us now in table topics.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I intend to lead you in table topics largely unsuccessfully, but we'll see how it goes. If nothing else, at least it'll kind of fit in with the theme of everything else that's been going on in this meeting so far. It will work in the end, not necessarily how it will start that way, though. However, before we do that, could our timer please remind everybody what the timing concerns are for table topics?
As it relates to table topics, you will see the change of my background as follows. Green at 1 minute, yellow 1:30, red at 2 minutes. And don't forget, if you're over 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it's going to start rotating.
Thank you, Madam Timer. All right, table topics. Our theme for this evening, frankly, it's the theme of the overall meeting is heat. And frankly, it's in Florida. It's too blistering hot to talk about heat. So we're going to focus instead on today. Today is August the 15th, or it's August the 16th, depending upon where you are, depending upon who particular you are in this particular situation. So we're going to be focusing on the incredibly famous things that have happened on this day, either this day being August the 15th or August the 16th. So that's it. You already know the answers to these because everybody, of course, recognizes what an incredible day this is. You walk around with it, you just automatically know. August the 15th, August the 16th. Wow, what a day. So let's get started with that. As you all know, let's see. On August the 15th in 1057, you know this is coming, all right, King Macbeth was killed. Okay. Now, I'm talking about Macbeth. I'm going to talk about Macbeth, except not King Macbeth, but rather the play Macbeth. Not exactly, though, the play Macbeth as just plays in general, and not exactly plays in general, but works of literature in general. So what I would like you to do is tell me your favorite work of literature, play, book, or whatever. And let's go with, oh, since he isn't doing anything else for this evening, David Carr.
Jim, may you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry. It's something to do with the play Macbeth. I think I got
Don't
that far.
apologize. It was kind of a wandering thing to get there, but basically it ended up with, tell us about your favorite literature, your favorite piece of literature, book, play, or anything like that. And why?
Wow. All of literature, huh? I mean, Macbeth is a pretty good one, because you have the whole pathos of Lady Macbeth in particular, the hand washing, the speech about how if it would advance her husband's career interest, and his career interest was in trying to be king, she would gladly pluck a baby from her breast and dash its brains out. That's ambition. That's ambition for you. You have to admire that. I mean, as a social operator, as a company politician trying to maneuver your way through things, think about Lady Macbeth and the dedication she had to being devious, to being ruthless. That's what you need to succeed in business today. It's not impromptu speaking. It's absolute, ruthless ambition. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, David. Nice recovery. That was good. Thank you. All right. Continuing on about the incredibly famous things that have happened on August the 15th. Let's see. Ah, okay. August the 15th, let's bring it forward a little ways, 1969. Some people may even be able to remember back in August 15th, 1969. August the 15th, 1969 is when the music festival Woodstock opened. And most people, if you weren't born then, at least you have probably heard of Woodstock. However, my question isn't about Woodstock per se. I regretted that I couldn't go to Woodstock. I would have given anything to have gone to Woodstock, and my parents wouldn't allow it. And since I was basically operating under their rules at the time, I couldn't go. So that was a tremendous regret, though. So I want you to tell me about one of your tremendous regrets. Kim Leaning.
Thank you, Table Topics Master David. Already had my first As far as regrets go, I guess I'll go with the whole music thing. I had tickets back when I was in college. I went to Northwestern, so I was in the Chicago area, and we had tickets to see the final farewell tour of The Who. And I was so excited. It was one of my favorite bands at the time. And as you know, that was not their final farewell back in 1982 or 3. It wasn't several times later, but I ended up getting mono and could not attend the concert and had to give my ticket away. And that was such a big regret of mine. I have never since seen The Who. I've seen lots of other groups that I really loved. Probably David Bowie is one of my favorites. I don't have a lot of regrets in life, so it's really hard for me to talk about this. I like to just live life and kind of take the punches, whether they're blistering punches or not so blistering of a punch, and just go through life having fun. So back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim. Nicely done. All righty, let's move on to, let's go back. Let's go back 5 years to August the 15th. It's interesting it would work out this way. August the 15th in 1964. This was incredible because, and we're kind of sticking with a music theme here, but I didn't write these. This is what happened on August the 15th. August the 15th, 1964, the Beatles played to 60,000 fans in Shea Stadium in New York City. This was the first time that a rock band had ever played before a stadium like this. And it led to all kinds of the genre basically known as stadium rock. And so this was the first occurrence. It was born basically there. So my question is, how do you think the Beatles, might as well stick with a musical theme, how do you think the Beatles changed the musical force, the musical direction in Western society, for better, for worse, and that sort of thing? And let's go with, Natasha.
Thank you. I figured.
You're muted. Nope,
You just
you're muted.
yourself, Natasha.
Natasha, there you go.
Okay.
And again.
You're muted again.
Now you're
What
good.
was, thank you. What was the question once again? I know I heard something about Beatles.
Yep. Talk about the Beatles. How did they influence, how did they change music? You've heard of the Beatles.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I've heard of the Beatles, and I want to know if I may call a friend.
Of course.
That would be my husband. I'm not really into music that way. However, I know that the Beatles, they did take really nice pictures. Very friendly pictures. You could see the close-knit relationships along with their nice music. And yes, the Beatles were great. And my husband did not hear me call him, but he is the music historian in the house. Back to you, Toastmaster Barber.
Thank you, Natasha. You did fine. I think your husband would be very proud of you.
He's sleeping.
Good for him. Okay, we'll tell him later. He can catch the recording. All right, let's see. We have a guest, Yao Jian Pin. Apologize if I mangled that. As a guest, you're not required to participate. I call on guests and give them the opportunity to participate in Table Topics if they would like to. Would you like to?
Yes, Jim, I'm willing to try.
Good for you. Okay. Then let's see. As you know, on August the 15th, 1914, the Panama Canal was opened. Before that, if anybody wanted to go from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean or vice versa, they had to basically go around the tip of South America, almost go down to Antarctica. So, talk to me about cruising or boats. That's it.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to introduce what is the definitions of boats. So boats is basically a transport that you have to use when you are crossing the sea or the river, something like that. And it's frequently used during the past time. I mean, like based on the rock age, like very past time. So they use boat to cross the seas because the connections between the countries is just a sea. So in order to go ahead to other countries, so they have to have a transport. So they set their transport as the boat or the cruising. So why they need such a transportation? So I believe that they have to do this is because by having this transportation, they could make a connection by countries to countries, and they could also sell their transport. I mean, sell their products to others. So by doing so, they could increase their relationship, improve their relationship. So by now, which is now is 2022 years. So we still have cruising, we still have boats. Why would we have so? Because we know that now we already have cars, we already have aeroplanes, something like that, that is way more faster than the boats. So why do we still need the slow transporter, which is boat? So in my opinion, I think we have boats. First reason is that because the boats have a long history. So in order to like keep the history, so make sure it's not losing. So we need to have a boat as a historical identity. So besides, the boat is actually, if you notice, a boat is quite I would say quite fancy. The decoration is quite good. So maybe someone that love art should be keeping the boats. So the last like reason that we should have a boat is that because we still don't have the transport to go ahead to sea. We just have aeroplane. So by having a second option, so we should need a boat. So that's all from me. Thanks.
Nice response. Thank you. Wow. Appreciate that. All right. Madam Toastmaster, do we still have some time?
Yes, you do. You can take about 2 more.
2 more. Okay.
My apologies.
I can probably do that. Okay. Let's see. As I said, we're talking about today. And today, for most of us, is August the 15th. But for some of us, it is August the 16th. So this is, of course, an incredibly, phenomenally important day. On August the 16th in 1954, the first issue of Sports Illustrated was published. So it's only fitting, if this was on 8/16 in 1954, that we should call on someone who is already where it is August the 16th. Graham Kearns, what is your favorite sporting event and why?
Funny you should mention sporting events and this day in history, Mr. Table Topics Master, because it was on this day in 1981 that Ian Botham scored a century and 86 balls at Old Trafford. Now, you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about when I say Ian. No, well, actually, Andriy probably does, because he lives in England and they play the same game. And Donna would too, because in fact, what am I talking about? All the Commonwealth countries will understand the beauty that is cricket, he says, with tongue very firmly planted in cheek. Cricket is a game which is played between, there are 11 people on each side, and the 11 men who are in keep batting until they are out, and then the 11 that are out come in, and then but the thing about cricket is that, you know how a baseball game lasts, what, 2 hours, I guess, maybe 3 hours? A football game between, I mean, what's an American football game run? 4.5 hours, although I understand that there's actually only about 20 minutes of play in there, and the rest of the time is when they're changing. Anyway, but cricket, you have, it's possible, a test series, which is a series of 5 matches. It is possible for you to have 4,400 man hours of play. That is 11 players on each side by 8 hours, by 5 days, by 5 matches, and still not get a result. In fact, no result is the most common result of Test cricket. So that's why it is important when I tell you that on this day, Ian Botham scored a century in 86 balls. That means that he was doing so really, really quickly. And doing so quickly is what makes cricket actually watchable. My wife, I have to tell you, is probably out in the lounge room listening to me, and divorce may well be on our cards between now and next week because she's a huge cricket fan. Me, not so much. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Graham. I watched a cricket game one time. I watched a cricket game one time. Yes, I'm going to watch a second one sometime, but we'll see how that goes. All right. Let's see. Let's move back to April. Let's go move back to yesterday, today, from Graham's point of view, yesterday. August, wrong month. On August the 15th in 1939, The Wizard of Oz premiered. Now, again, most people, if you haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, at least you're probably aware of what the movie is about. Several people, a cowardly lion, a tin man, a scarecrow, and Dorothy, of course, make their way to the wizard to ask for various things. The tin man asks for a heart, the scarecrow asks for a brain, and that sort of thing. So my question to you is, if you could go to the great Wizard of Oz and ask them for something, what would you ask them for? Joni.
If I could go to the great Wizard of Oz and ask him for something, it would be to never again. Did you get what I did there? It was a Toastmasters reference. But actually, I mean that when you have a decision to make and your brain freezes and you go, I wouldn't be like the scarecrow singing, well, if I only had a brain. But it doesn't help whenever you have a decision to make. One thing says do this, the other says that. Don't you just wish you never had that moment where you just freeze? No, because I'm in Jamaica, I blame it on the blistering heat, you know? My brain is fried and I'm overloaded and there's too much. But I think it's over processing. I mean, after all, have you ever had 15 tabs open at any given time? You know what happens when that happens to you, right? 404 error, blue screen of death, everything just stops or it gets frozen and starts to slow down. That's what happens to my brain whenever there's too much processing. So if I had a request and there was something that I needed from the Wizard of Oz, it's to make sure that I never, ever again end up with being the Wizard of Oz. Back to you, our table topics master.
Thank you, Joni. And congratulations, you did a better job of answering a table topics question and being timer than I did when I was in that position a week or two ago. So yes, you did good. Congratulations. Madam Toastmaster, we're probably out of time, are we not?
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. We
My
do
pleasure.
not have to put a little fire under your tail.
Nope.
Get you
Before
to stop.
Before I return control,
Enjoy.
though, could I ask the timer to tell us what the times were so people can vote? Then I'll return control
so
to you.
much. I noticed a little fire is there by our watcher. As the timer puts the information in the chat, we will now get ready to find out how can we take this warmth and make sure that what we produce next time is perfect. Our general evaluator this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is Toastmaster Lewis Brown. Toastmaster Brown, please tell us how well cooked are we this evening?
Madam Toastmaster, thank you for that warm introduction. We are going to hear two blistering evaluations. for 2 blistering speeches. Let's start with our first evaluation of Toastmaster Smolenko's speech. Adrian, I'm looking for you on the screen. There you are. Toastmaster Adrian Williams, please provide Toastmaster Smolenko with his evaluation. 2 to 3 minutes, Madam Timer. Feel free to go.
Oh, I thought we were waiting for the timer. Are we not?
No, I was just reminding her the 2 to 3, but she knows we're in an advance.
Okay, perfect. No problem. Okay. Fellow Toastmaster Andriy, your speech was awesome. I thought it was so great. I was looking forward to the acronym FBI. I expected you to do some FBI moves and really bring us in. That was just one thing I was so excited about. I was like, are we going to get some FBI secrets or tips or something like that in this speech? Wow. One of the things I say that you were supposed to do in this speech is to excel at putting together a structured speech that had an acronym. The project for this speech was for you to create a well-organized speech about a real or hypothetical public relations strategy. It should be informative and include humor, visual aids, and engaging. And basically what I felt about that is the acronym with FBI made us all remember exactly what it was. It would have been a great time for you to really drag that out and incorporate that in your speech. One of the things you should do to challenge yourself, try not to introduce too much content in one section. Once you introduce the FBI concept, use that several times to really drill in the point. And that was F was for feeling, B was behavior, I was for the impact. But with that, you gave us some more words that really took us all, we were too much. The audiences, we're trying to follow along. And if you give us too many acronyms and examples, we get lost. So if you could just really hammer into that one concept during that 5 minutes, that would be great. If it was 15 minutes or longer, that's a different story. But in this short time frame, just be exact, concise, and to the point. And one of the other things that I said here is that you just needed to be careful with the visual aids. There was one part of your speech where you're covering your face, and we were all looking at you, wondering if you were aware of it. And I am going to try to copy a trick that I saw, which I don't know that I can, but I will try. Here is an example of that. When the slide was covering your face and we couldn't see you. So just be careful of that when you're doing your speeches, and then it will come across better. You did an excellent job. You stuck with that FBI concept throughout the end. I thought that was really good. And I enjoyed learning more about your speech. And I love that you included an example about your shirt and you applied the acronym to yourself to tell us how to do it. Always remember when you're speaking to an audience, in the end, give us a call of action. Why do we need to do these things? Are we trying to manage difficult situations? Why do we need this acronym? Is that because we are being evaluated by someone we don't really like, or we're being mentored by someone that's difficult, or they're nitpicking our things? That is an example of why we need to use those things. So just incorporate all those things, and we enjoyed your speech and we're looking forward to another one. Thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Williams. Appreciate it. Moving right along, we have Toastmaster Marianne Grady evaluating our President, Toastmaster Andrew Bern's speech. Take it away, Marianne.
Why, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Lou. Tonight, Andy gave us a speech on one of my favorite topics, leadership. Leadership, what does it mean to you? He gave us information, a plethora of information about valuable things such as knowing about people's personalities and their styles, because just like in public speaking, knowing your audience is critical to be a good leader. Andy's voice modulation was pretty even and very pleasant to listen to. And Andy, what I would say to challenge yourself is you barely made eye contact with the camera throughout your entire speech. So what I tell people to do when they have that difficulty is to remember the beginning and the end, so you can make constant contact when you're starting to grab people's attention and to have impact at the end. But pick certain lines throughout the speech if you don't have it all in your head. but that way it makes you be a little more impactful when you're speaking. I loved how you presented your slides, and I was wondering, was that Prezi? Because it really looked stunning when you were out there, but I did think that your slides had too much text. I found myself reading rather than listening to you, and you never want that. So my suggestion to you would be to use pictures. And you actually gave some great pictures for our mind, because you said MacGyver, Genghis Khan. If you put their picture up and then gave maybe 3 points about each of those styles, I think it would have been more effective. But Andy, I really appreciated listening to you as the president of our club, giving us your leadership style tips, and I enjoyed it very much. So thank you very much, and back to you, Lou Brown.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Grady. Appreciate it. We are now going to, actually, I am now going to ask our timer if our evaluator is qualified. Toastmaster Gioni, maybe you're putting...
My apologies. I was speaking away on mute, and yes, I was actually putting it in the chat. Toastmaster Adrian spoke for 3 minutes and 5 seconds, and Toastmaster Marianne spoke for 1 minute and 43 seconds. So Toastmaster Adrian qualified.
Thank you very much. And I believe Marianne qualified as well. Is it 1 minute, 30 seconds is the absolute minimum? Very good. Please send your vote for best evaluator to Pamela Benjamin. Moving on to reports from our helpers. We'll go right down the list here. Toastmaster Trim, as our counter, how did we do in that department?
Thank you again, General Evaluator Louis Brown. We didn't do too badly though. My report to be very brief. We had some ahs and so on, by David, Kim, Andriy, and Miriam. Maybe just one each. David had as 3 times. I recognize that that Toastmaster Young, his language, English language, may be his second language. So he had a lot of so's and ums. But nevertheless, all in all, we are a professional club, and I think we are doing quite good so far, and let us continue. So back to you, Toastmaster Brown.
Wonderful. Thank you, Toastmaster Trim. Moving on to our watcher, Toastmaster Natasha Van Ellison.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I want to share, may I share my screen? Our best smile. Can you all see this? The winner with the best smile of the evening, Toastmaster Adrian Williams. And look at that background. That is what I saw. She was perfectly centered within her slide, her box. And everyone else, you look really nice. Learning, you were on fire. I see the fire behind you. I can stop this sharing now. Okay, did I capture you well, Adrian? Awesome. David, I'm not sure what you're hiding tonight. I usually don't see, I don't see your blurred background. However, it's great to see you. Pamela, your background is hot also. I feel the heat here, along with my gnats, Savannah gnats. All in all, you all look wonderful. I saw some smiling. Donna smiled, and just everyone looked great. And I don't want to prolong all of this, but you received an A+. Back to you, General Evaluator Brown.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Van Ellison. Appreciate that. You know, it's interesting from a distance, when I was looking at Toastmaster Williams' picture on your shared screen, it almost reminded me of like a halo. It's like, whoa, Very-
Yes, that's why.
Ooh,
Yes,
I felt-
perfectly centered. Yes.
Yeah, and I felt some goosebumps there. Looked
I
just
know.
like a halo. Okay,
Yes.
moving on. I'm sure we'll get a blistering grammarian report from Toastmaster Graham Cairns, who is in August 16th. How'd we
Indeed,
do?
Mr. General Evaluator. A blistering report tonight. Blistering was used by Donna, twice by Joni, by Jim, by Kim, and by, is it Lou or Lewis or Louis? I'm not sure. Lou, you'll do. Which do you prefer though, just as a point of interest, Lewis or Louis?
Feel free to choose. I
Yeah,
like them
all right. I'll go with Lou then. All right, so if there's anybody else who used blistering, I do apologize. David came up with, I think, the most confused construction of the evening when he said something like, hopefully we will make what goes, I think, maybe hopefully wrong go hopefully right, or something like that. I didn't quite get it written down because there was so much going on, but also he told us to put on our big boy pants, and I like that turn of phrase. Donna, now we know the things for which we are looking. It might have been easier to say now we know the things we're looking for, but I like that construction. I thought it was nice. Andriy is someone for whom English is not his first language, and yet he used clear, succinct, and easily accessible language to make Sinek's ideas easily comprehensible. So well done, congratulations. Andrew spoke about experiential learning. Jim said it'll work in the end, but not necessarily in the way it starts to begin, or something like that. Now, Jim would have won the most confused construction if I hadn't already given that to David. Natasha, may I call a friend? I love the way that we have introduced into the language these pop culture references like that, as did Jenny when speaking about 404 errors and the blue screen of death. I thought that worked really well. And I'm sorry, that was who said that? Jody, I had you down as Ginny, and I knew that wasn't right. Jim, you did good. Yeah, right. I think that that's actually acceptable if we are being deliberately distorting of the language. Adrienne spoke of hammering in and drilling deep. I thought it was really nice that she used 2 or 3 of those analogies during her presentation. And Marianne had a plethora of information, she said. And I know I've got a red light, but I do want to take a few extra seconds here. The use of plethora was perfectly done then. All too often I hear people talk about a myriad of information or a myriad of things that happen. A myriad is a single number, an uncountable number, but a single number. So you have a myriad insects were flying in to Natasha's place tonight, and she had to try and stick up something to try and get them to go away. She didn't have a myriad of insects flying in. There is your grammarian's report. I know I've gone over. I don't care. Tough. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Cairns. Appreciate it. And boy, and I always love your very extensive knowledge of grammar. And I'm sure I used myriad the wrong way several times. And a myriad, I was going to say myriad of situations. In myriad situations, I've used the word myriad wrong. Okay, wonderful. And yes, it is not Jenny. It is Joni from the block. Okay, moving on to, if anyone got that reference, hopefully somebody did. Chat monitor. Oh, good. Chat monitor, David Carr, how'd we do in the chat? What important information's in there?
I think probably the most important information was that Kim is reliably encouraging and offers praise. Not that it's not undeserved, but she goes out of her way to let everybody know you're doing a great job. And I saw her do that to several people this evening. That is one of the things that does help make the club better and more engaging. There was some other chatter. Donna wanted to riff off of the card reference, but something about make it so, and that's about all I've got out of it. And thank you to everybody who did respond to a chat message prompting you to sign up for something for next week. Our agenda is fuller than it would have been otherwise, and so that's a good thing. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carr. Appreciate it. Okay, before we get to the final role helper, our vote counter, I'll give a very brief evaluation of the meeting. We always do a wonderful job. We're very professional. we do the handoffs very well. We're an advanced club, so quite frankly, what we do so well, we continue to do well. There's really nothing to mention there. Aside from my probably using the word really so much, I'm sure Graham is probably like, oh, nails on a chalkboard. There's a few things I want to point out. One, of course, is at the beginning, I believe we were trying to get roles filled at the last minute. I came in myself at the last minute, but I still made it on time and I satisfied my role. But I understand it is difficult to, when folks don't show up or don't get a replacement. Let's try to be a little bit better about that. The other thing I'd like to speak to is the evaluations. This could be my own personal opinion, but I have to say, I think it's rooted in a bit of psychology. When we're kids, oftentimes, and even sometimes as adults, when we hear from authority figures, you need to do this, you should do this. For me, that kind of brings up a who are you to tell me what to do kind of thing in my own mind. Again, this could be rooted in psychology. But when it comes to evaluations, I like to be a little bit more gentle in how I present my own evaluation of someone else's speech, in that for me, I found it difficult for this, or I suggest you doing that. I think the language just sometimes is important. And again, this is only really my personal opinion. Quite frankly, I'm sure when I've given evaluations, I've done them that way myself, is, you know, Andy, you'd be better off if you did this, or Andriy, you know, shame on you. Well, not that we're going to say things like that, but I think, you know, where I'm going. For me, I think there's a bit of a psychology reference there. Maybe I was just told to do so much when I was a kid that it just got to me. I don't know. Anyway, bit of a suggestion there. Let's go on to our vote counter. Pamela, Benjamin, how do we do? Who are the winners of each of our segments?
Andriy won Best Speaker, Joni won Best Impromptu, and Andriy, I'm not sure how to say that. Adrian,
yes.
Adrian won.
Rocky, yo, Adrian.
Adrian, yeah.
And if my language is
Rocky.
offensive, just let me know, because when I speak, I don't remember what I said afterwards. So just let you guys know that.
Okay, I'll think about Rocky yelling Adrian. Adrian, Best Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Appreciate that. We have but 4 minutes left. Let's turn things over to our Toastmaster, or right to the president, whoever would like to take over from here. Please do
Thank
so.
you. Are we hot yet? Not every blister is a problem, because as long as we're going and working, blisters heal. Today, we spent over an hour together supporting one another as we listened and we spoke. Our evaluations ensured that the right amount of heat, let's say warmth, encouraged us to grow and to maintain standards, so that today, August 15, 16, all of us will go down in history. We will go down knowing how to reduce conflict using Synec's FBI strategy, and to focus on our leadership and what it means to us. As I take my leave this evening, I thank you for another opportunity to serve. And I challenge you to use heat to grow, which, when it's time to apply to others, let it be a little bit more warm. Have a wonderful evening, Toastmasters. May it not be too hot for you. And it's my pleasure to give the hot seat to Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Donna. Before we go, I wanted to get your impression, Joe. Was this the first time you were at our club? Was this your first meeting? Can you hear me, Joe? Joe Yim Pin?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's my second time. I attended last week.
Well, good. Well, tell us what you are feeling about the club and what you experienced today.
Yeah, I enjoy the club very much. As you guys mentioned, that this club is really professional, so I learned a lot by hearing you guys speak. It's really worthwhile to join it.
Well, good. Well, our Vice President of Education and our Vice President of Membership will be in touch with you, so that the next time you join, we'll be able to put you up for a vote and bring you into the club. Sounds like a good idea?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
All right.
And as VP membership, I'd like to quickly state, Andy, that not only has he done table topics both times, last week and this week, but he actually won Best Table Topics last week. So great job.
There we go.
Thanks.
For those that have not been watching the monitors or looking at your mail, today, actually tomorrow, begins the International Toastmasters meeting. If you were not able to make it to Nashville, you could also do the whole thing by Zoom, and it's only $45. And we may find out that if we're short anybody next week, we'll plug in one of those wonderful lectures that we heard during the conference during that time. So at this time, I want to wish everybody a wonderful evening. Think about signing up for the roles so that we don't have to do it the last minute. But even if we do it the last minute, we are so proficient at doing that that we make it happen and look like it was planned. So at this point, time to cut off the recording, and we're more than willing to stay over for anybody to talk about anything.